Welcome to the Food Show. I am Andrew Coppolino. It's really great to have you alongside here once again on a Sunday afternoon where we talk about food. We talk to restaurateurs, we talk to chefs, we talk to cooks, we talk to people that are in the food industry. And it's always a fun and quick-paced hour. Welcome, Craig, our operator on the other side there. Glad to have you alongside. We also have in the studio with me right now Phong Tran. He is the co-owner, co-proprietor, co-operator with his wife Dawn of Matter of Taste Coffee Bar, not only in Kitchener but in Waterloo as well. Welcome to the show.
Hey Andrew, how are you?
It's good to have you along. I think it's been a few months anyway since you've been here, but it's good to have you back, and you're going to have some pretty interesting device to show us here. It's not a new technology at all, but it's kind of a funky cool, and you're going to give us a little demonstration of.
Yeah.
And we also want to hear about, I guess, growth and development in the business in general, in the industry in general, locally here, when it comes to coffee. And you're certainly very much at the heart of that. And I'll be interested in hearing a little bit about, what you see is happening, what the landscape lines up for when we think about coffee, drinking coffee locally and maybe across the industry as a whole. So looking forward to that. Lindsay Gavey will also be here. She's going to give us a little, how at the holiday time you've got all these ideas about what you're going to do, and you're going to have people over, and you're very busy, and it's very stressful, and it's sometimes hard to know, what to do, what process you should undergo, what you should get, what you should buy, what you should serve, what you shouldn't. And it just adds to what is always already a stressful situation. So Lindsay Gavey from the winefox.ca people will be alongside. She's going to give us a few holiday entertaining tips. So get your notepad and your paper out, and you can take down some of the tips from this organization to help you have a little bit of fun at the holiday time without so much of the stress, and that's always welcome. And I'm not sure, but I think we're going to have a special guest dropping in. I can't divulge who that is yet, but he should be here shortly. We'll keep our fingers crossed, because at this time of the year, he's a very, very, very busy guy. I've just noticed that it turns out, and this was a little, see, here at the Food Show, what we try to do is we try to be on the cutting edge. And while we're on the topic of cutting edge, I just want to point to the fact that you can go to 570news.com and click on the webcast button there, and you can see what we are doing here in the studio via the internet. That's 570news.com, and look for the webcast button. We stream live to the internet. Now, cutting edge, hot dogs. Hot dogs are suddenly cutting edge. Phong, are you a hot dog fan?
Occasionally.
Occasionally, okay. Well, hot dogs are hot in L.A., apparently. And what I always notice is things that happen in these big centers outside of Canada, it takes a few years for that kind of trends to trickle down, and we're starting to see more and more sort of food truck interest, for instance, here in Canada, Ontario and Toronto, and not so much in Waterloo region yet. But I think food trends do move from larger centers to smaller centers, and apparently it's boom time for hot dogs in L.A., and a number of new restaurants that focus on hot dogs, or trucks that focus on hot dogs, are coming up big time when it comes to street food. Pink's and Tommy's are such examples. The Dog House, that's Haus, Federal Bar, Slaw Dogs, Coney Dog, the Papaya King. They're raising the stakes when it comes to hot dogs. And apparently, hot dogs are in the midst of a renaissance. They're taking them seriously, and they're putting all kinds of wild things on hot dogs. So you're getting tempura fried onions on your hot dogs, house-made spicy basil aioli, avocados, chipotle peppers, cilantro creams, and tropical fruit salsa. So they're all going into the sort of heightened awareness now of what a hot dog can be. You remember how we had that sort of burger craze a few years ago?
$50 burger.
$50 burger. Yeah, did you eat one of those?
I tried one of those in New York, actually.
Did you? Yeah. What, like at one of the top end restaurants, or?
One of the top end restaurants.
Yeah,
Don and I was taking a trip there, and it just coincided with that whole launch of the $50 burger.
What did you think? It had foie gras or something in it?
Foie gras, the whole 9 yards, and the mushrooms and everything.
What did you think? Worth $50?
It worth $50 to try, but it would not worth $50 to buy.
You wouldn't go back and do it a second time. Yeah. It seems a bit silly, doesn't it?
It's very much so. It's a huge portion as well.
And they use Kobe beef or Wagyu
everything,
or something, and it's a real luxury. So it's just a steak basically that happens to be ground up and put in a burger form. So
make it very fancy and on a nice little plate.
And some truffles or something.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's sort of happening with hot dogs. However, in these sort of more straitened economic times, what's happening is it's a sort of a return to the economics of the situation, and that they can feed you a fairly substantial meal meal with some sort of gourmet hot dogs, gourmet in air quotes, that's less than $10. So it's sort of a recession-driven thing. It's a thing that's sort of very indicative of the economic situation that we're facing right now. And it sort of capitalizes, too, on the food truck boom that's out there, especially in the United States. And apparently, according to and I get this, Fong, I kid you not, the National Hot Dog and Sausage Council has decreed that L.A. is the #1 consumer of hot dogs, beating out New York City, and San Antonio. San Antonio is up there, too, as well. So, there's just some really interesting things being done with hot dogs. And, again, it's a way of getting people connected with a better food. It's a better quality hot dog, too. It's not like a store-bought kind of filled, hot dog that's packed full of all kinds of filler. It's a legitimate beef tube, I guess, that's got some extra flavorings and stuff on it. And this one place, this Papaya King, sells still 600 hot dogs a day. Do you think that's a pretty good turnaround of hot dogs?
That's a good number, but I think like some of the places in New York sell quadruple that.
Yeah. We'll see. I mean, what I'm always interested in is, whether it comes to Ontario and how long it'll take before we start seeing some gourmet hot dogs. And who knows? I mean, I do like a hot dog. I do like a hot dog, and I do partake in the street vendor dogs that you see on the streets here, from those little carts. But they're pretty basic, aren't they? I mean,
they're very basic.
A basic hot dog, and of course they're only $2, so $2.50 is $3, whatever. So they are inexpensive, and they are pretty fun to eat. But I'd love to see something.
I'd love to see that too. Yeah.
Yeah. Would you? Yeah. Would you generally be in favor of the whole food truck movement if it started to get a toehold here in Waterloo region? I mean, it's tough in Ontario because there's not the climate isn't really great for a sort of a roving food truck. You've got very few months of opportunity to ply your trade and to make some money.
I would love to see those because if you travel a lot, especially even in Toronto, you see a whole range of different food, and they're all mobile. And I can't see any reason why not.
Yeah. I mean, there's some pretty stringent laws about it in terms of the health codes, obviously, and also then city licensing and whatnot. And it can be very, very expensive. I know in one city in the region, like very, very expensive to get a license for a hot dog cart, and in another city, it can be very, very inexpensive. So there's a sort of a disparity there in the rules about hot dogs to get these carts up and running. But yeah, I think generally I agree with you. I'd like to see a little bit more of that stuff that doesn't impact bricks and mortar restaurants, but that adds to the dining experience. So we'll see what happens there. Just a couple other notes I want to talk to you about. Of course, I'm in the studio here with Fong Tran of Matter of Taste Coffee Bar. There's a location in two locations in Kitchener. We'll talk about that a little bit. But certainly downtown Kitchener is that the flagship? Would we say?
Yes, I would say.
Yeah, and then at Waterloo Square, uptown Waterloo Square, there's another location there as well. And then the Hacienda has a roastery and a coffee shop as well. Yeah. Healthy food systems. We're finding more and more interest in healthy food systems. We're finding more and more opportunities for people to check out what makes up a healthy food system. And that includes some great programming at the Kitchener Public Library. And I just wanted to give you a heads up of some things that are coming up, some of them later in the new year, but nonetheless, at this busy time of the year, there's no harm in marking it in your calendar because you can learn about heritage seeds and bees in your garden. And that's with Bob Wildfong. He's the Executive Director of Seeds Diversity Canada and the founder of Pollination Canada. Very, very important, I guess, seed health and keeping heritage seeds growing and thriving in our environment. So you can visit him on January 31st at the library to learn a little bit about heritage seeds and bees in your garden. Of course, you know how important bees are for our food. Apparently, 1/3 of everything that we put in our mouth has been touched by a bee. That is the whole pollination thing and, moving seeds around, moving pollen around and getting things growing and all of that kind of stuff. So bees are very, very important, and you can learn more about them at the Kitchener Public Library. That's on January 31st. You can also get a talk about local agriculture and with a special, I think, focus on organics from Wolfgang Fennig of Fennig's Organics Farm and Candace Wormsbecker of Transpire Organic Farm and Wellness. Again, part of a strong, healthy food system, and there's lots to learn there about farmers, stores, the government, how they're working together here in Waterloo region to make sure that we have a sustainable food system. That runs on February 28th at these are evening classes, so 6:30 at night. And then Get Local, It's Delicious. That's a good friend of ours, Steve Martin from Martin's Family Fruit Farm, a well-known institution here in the region. He's a board member too with the FoodLink Waterloo Region organization. Locally grown food is better for your health, it's better for the environment, and it's the right choice to support Waterloo Region farmers and producers. And Steve will be helping people learn a little bit more about getting local, learn why it's important, why we should eat this way, and how to find some of the great stuff that's out there. And that is an event that takes place in March, well down the road, but nevertheless, as your calendar fills up, you might want to pencil this one in, March 27th as well. And you can get more information about all these great programs through the In Touch section, I guess, of the Kitchener Public Library, and that's kpl.org. So, Fong, you see here at the food show how quickly everything goes by. Because what I have to tell you now is that it's time to have a break already.
Wow.
Yeah, it just seems to whiz by. I'm with Fong Tran of Matter of Taste, Kitchener Waterloo, coffee shop, great addition to the coffee scene locally. I'm Andrew Coppolino. This is the food show, and it's time for a short break here. And when we return, we'll talk about some holiday entertaining tips and help you make the holiday season as stress less and as fruitful as possible. This is 570 News.
This is the Food Show with Andrew Coppolino on 570 News.
Here we are once again. This is the Food Show. Welcome back for our second segment. Time flies when we're having fun. And we're about to speak with Fong Tran. Oh, wait a second. What's going on? Who is this? Well, hello,
Santa.
Oh, hello, Andrew Coppolino. Oh,
I'm surprised.
I visit you every year.
You're so... I'm flattered and I'm humbled that you've dropped by.
Well, I was just good because I had some presents to give away at a special engagement. Santa loves to give out presents.
Do you know Fong, of course, from
I have visited Fong so many years at Christmas.
All good gifts.
Even when he's naughty, I always had something for him. Well, because Santa's very forgiving. Okay.
Well, how has it been this year, Santa? Can you sum up how it's been? It's getting close to the day.
The children are so excited out there. This is the best time of the year, is it not?
I think it is.
Christmas is the best. When you go around and everywhere there's lights and the children are so excited. And I saw some kids today that were so excited they didn't know what to say.
Now, Santa, of course, you know this is the food show, so I have to ask you, are you trim?
Andrew,
are you fit? Are you ready?
Santa
Santa
loves to eat.
You've got a lot of eating to do after your deliveries.
Andrew, Santa loves food. And I'll tell you, no matter how much I try, I seem to get bigger every year. Oh, Mrs. Claus is such a good cook. But I'll tell you a secret. Sometimes we order in.
What do you order? That's what I want to know.
Wings.
Wings.
And let me tell you, this white beard, it is
pretty
full of wing sauce.
saucy.
And the truth is, it's not very pretty, and you shouldn't even think about it.
Okay, so what now? When the children leave their treat for you and Rudolph at night.
That's a good question you're asking
What should
me.
they? I haven't asked it yet, Santa.
I think I know.
Okay.
Santa knows where you're going, Andrew.
Santa.
I'm very intuitive.
Yeah, you
Boy,
are.
I do ask the question because
okay.
I want to make sure that
All right.
give you a good answer on this.
All right. Okay. What should they leave? What's the favorite thing that they should leave for you and Rudolph?
Of course, you know, Santa gets milk and cookies usually, and sometimes some carrots. But you know something? It doesn't have to be a milk and cookie because the truth is, sometimes I go into a house and somebody's left me a beer. Santa. Now, I can't have too many beers, but sometimes I like to have a sip of the beer, right?
Yes.
And one, a couple of houses last year left me beer nuts. And mixed nuts. Oh, Santa loves nuts.
Is that a good choice?
And sometimes hot chocolate. Oh, who doesn't like hot chocolate?
No, you're absolutely
Nobody.
right, Santa. Well,
the answer is nobody.
Nobody. Okay, nobody does. Okay.
Nobody doesn't like hot chocolate.
Right, that's the
I
answer.
checked, Andrew Coppolino, and I know that you like hot chocolate. Oh.
You're right, Santa. Have the children been good this year, generally? Can
You
we
know
safe
something?
to say?
Children are good people, and they try hard, and everyone struggles. But you know something? Yes, they have been good.
Good. I'm glad to hear it. Now, Santa, I don't want to keep you long because I know you're very
Yes,
busy,
I have to get going.
and it's very hot in the studio as well, and you're starting to sweat a
Santa
bit
likes
there.
it cool, and I am sweating, yes. The reindeer, by the way, are over in New Hamburg right now, and any minute now they'll be leaving to come to the top of this building.
Okay, and they're going to pick you up.
It'll be so fast, no one will be able to. If you blink, you might miss it.
Automatic pilot, they can get here. They don't need you to guide them.
No,
They're so bright.
I've got enough. That sleigh, you can't have the sleigh with nobody in it. That's Andrew Coppolino. You know better than that, please.
Thank you, Santa, for joining
it's so good
us.
to be
I want to
here.
thank you very much for taking a time out of your busy day and visiting us with here on the Food Show.
My pleasure. And by the way, I'll be on Jeff Allen's show before Christmas.
Oh my goodness.
So tell your friends.
All right.
And tell them we need to have the children. I've told them now.
Yeah, you've just told them.
Oh, I can't wait. Santa loves being on the radio.
Okay, well, you can either leave or stick around, because what's happening now is we're going to talk to Lindsay Gavey from Wine Fox, and she's going to tell us a little bit about holiday entertaining. But you know what? I don't think you need much help with holiday entertaining.
Lindsay's so sweet. Yeah. I remember her when she was just a little munchkin. And now she's wine and listen, Santa's got to go now. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Santa. Bye, Santa.
Thank you.
Good luck. Good luck this year. Well, there we go. That's the first time. That's the first time on the Food Show that we've had.
I'll make sure I leave some coffee for Santa.
Yeah, okay, leave some coffee, yeah. Okay. Holiday time means entertaining time, and that can also mean some added stress. But it doesn't have to be stressful. And here at the Food Show, we seek to get your food facts and information out to you so that you can use them in a useful way to prevent the stress that can build up with the holidays. And one of the things we've done is we've brought in someone by the name of Lindsay Gavey. She's from the Wine Fox, and she's got some entertaining tips for us. Hello, Lindsay.
Hi, Andrew.
Hi, sorry about that. We had to delay a little bit because we had Santa. I hope you were able to hear our conversation with Santa. Hello?
Hello? Sorry, I can't hear you.
Sorry, can you hear me now?
Nope.
You can't hear me
I
now?
can only hear the music.
Can only hear some music. Okay, well, stick with us. We'll get it sorted out, and we'll get it worked on. We just had Santa in the studio, and that was a bit of a distraction that he came in suddenly like that. But you know how Santa makes these sudden appearances, and you don't know he's coming. Can you hear me now? Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay,
yeah,
good.
Fine.
Now, Lindsay, what we've been talking about here is entertaining tips, how to reduce the amount of stress that's a part of the holiday season. And maybe you want to just sort of lay out for us what some of the principles are for you for making holiday entertaining less stressful and more enjoyable.
Sure, absolutely. I mean, you've laid it out quite nicely. We all know how stressful it can be, and we're trying to do so many things at once, and so is everyone else. So it's a bit of madness out there. And I think one of the biggest things really is planning, and doing a little bit will really go a long way. And you can do that by going to sites like winefox.ca, and we really strive to, first of all, make wine in the world of wine very accessible and fun so that you can enjoy it.
Mm-hmm.
And it can be a little bit of a daunting undertaking, when you're talking about, holiday entertaining, whether it's you're doing the entertaining yourself and you're trying to plan and figure out, how much wine to buy, what wines to buy, what are people going to enjoy, or you're trying to figure out, the perfect hostess gift because you're attending a great party.
Well, let's talk about that. I mean, I've got a group of 10 people coming over. Let's say we want to do a little wine and cheese party. What's the sort of the gauge that I should be using to figure out how much food I should have, how much wine I should have, so that I'm not overbuying, but I'm also not worried about running short?
Sure. Well, I think when you're talking about a wine and cheese, and that's certainly one of my favorite routes to go because, you can do all the prep up front and then you're able to for the most part, relax and enjoy and not be spending a ton of time in the kitchen. And that gauge, really, if we're not talking about other food, I would say probably about one bottle for every 2 people. So
okay.
you're gonna look at about 5, maybe err on the side of, caution and get 6 bottles of wine. And then if you're doing red and white,
mm-hmm.
You may want to go one or the other, but
mm-hmm.
red and white, usually about a 40-60 split for red. There tends to be, more red drinkers out there.
Okay, very good. Now,
and then,
go ahead.
Oh, sorry. I was going to say, just in terms of cheese, I mean, that can be a little bit tough as well. And again, part of it is just sort of, gauging it yourself. But you can say, with, a good way to go is about 100 to 200 grams per person for cheese. And I always try to do, 3, maybe 4 cheeses because you tend to overwhelm if you go with more than that.
Right. What about we should have a variety of cheeses too? We should have some soft cheeses, some hard cheeses, some very flavorful cheeses, some milder cheeses.
Yeah, I think that's exactly right. Do a nice soft, a great creamy brie is always a crowd favorite and something that's recognizable. And then do a semi-firm, and then a hard cheese certainly. So you cover off each of those, and then throw something in that gets people talking. That's a little bit different, and that could be one of my favorites. There's a cheese coming out of Quebec, and it's called Grey Owl, and it has a ash rind. It's a goat's cheese. It's just beautiful. It looks great on a cheese tray, and it's really yummy. So
I'm speaking.
Great.
I'm speaking with Lindsay Gavey of winefox.ca. Now, Lindsay, I've been to a lot of wine and cheese parties, a lot of these sort of affairs where you go and visit with people that you don't know or people that you do know. Sometimes they're pretty much the same. What tips can you give us for maybe personalizing or somehow making it a little bit different than the usual normal process of wine and cheese parties?
Well, I think one of the things is making the cheese feature, well, exactly that, a feature of your party. So we have an excellent cheese blogger that works for winefox.ca. Her name's Victoria Walsh, and she recently suggested to us doing, a specific cheese tray for your white wines and a specific cheese tray for your red wine. And that can be really fun. So people can they can engage with it. I always like to put, small note cards with the cheeses, so the name, the region that they're coming from, and then talk about the pairings that you're doing. So, maybe it's a regional pairing. So you're doing, an Ontario cheese and an Ontario wine. Of course, a buzzword is terroir lately,
right.
And that really means, everything that goes into producing a wine or a cheese, for that matter, the climate and the conditions and the soil and so on are really what make it taste the way it does. So it makes perfect sense to pair something that way. Pair an Ontario cheese and Ontario wine, and tell people about it. And that should get people talking. And maybe they'll start with the white and move over to the red wine cheese tray, and you can really have some fun with it.
What do you think about the glasses that you should be serving wine in? I mean, one of the things that I think of is people at cocktail parties, they might be standing around, they've got to hold and juggle a plate and a glass. Do you recommend not having sort of formal stemware for wine and maybe using one of those funky glasses that are sort of more like a tumbler that have a wine sort of tulip shape, or do you keep it formal with the stemware?
I think you kind of gauge it with the crowd that you've got. And one of the things, that I should step back and say is there really aren't any formal rules. I mean, everybody should really just be having a great time and enjoying themselves. If it's a casual crowd, though, yeah, maybe do one of those great. You can get the O glasses with a bit of a notch that makes it easier to hang on to. Yeah. And those are fabulous, and you can get them in a really durable plastic sort of material that's, fabulous and looks fabulous now. But then if it is a bit more formal, certainly, the real wine and cheese aficionados are going to appreciate, traditional stemware, and that works. You can get something that works with red and white and is just sort of easy, and that's a little bit more of a classic route to go.
Well, let's pick up on something that you mentioned early in our conversation, and that is you're a guest, you've arrived. Should you bring a gift? What are the kind of protocols and rules and etiquettes for being a guest and bringing something to your hosts?
Right. Well, Andrew, I think, that's a really good question. I think it's always nice to arrive with something. They've gone to all of the trouble of planning this party and hosting you, and it's always nice to bring, your host a small gift, and it certainly doesn't have to be something outrageous. WineFox, let's say, has, we cover value wines, and we really strive to help help you make the most of your time and your money. So finding great bottles of wine that aren't going to break the bank, and then arriving with something that has a bit of a wow factor, and you can tell them a little bit about it, by doing some research on the site, and what does it pair with, and make it feel a little bit more special, a little bit more personalized. Maybe, I've been saying this recently to some friends. If you've gone on a trip, your host has gone on a trip recently,
right.
Let's say to Italy or to Australia, perhaps you buy them a wine that you've read a review about from that region, and then they can see that a little bit more thought has been put into it. Another wow factor, obviously, is champagne. Now, that's a more expensive endeavor to get traditional champagne. Sparkling wine is incredible coming out of Ontario. We produce amazing things, and something like that would be a really special sort of gift for your host, and would stand out from all the other bottles of wine that they might be receiving.
Now let me ask you this about if I've received a bottle, if someone comes to my door and I welcome them in and we start to chat and they present me with this host gift and it's a nice bottle of wine, should I open it for this particular function that they're at, or is it something that they're expecting me to sort of stick away and enjoy on my own time? Just quickly.
I think that it's a call, and you can be honest and chat with your guest about it. I think that presenting a gift, you should not expect that the host will open it. In fact, when I bring over a bottle, I'll often say enjoy this on your own, or enjoy this later, or take two bottles, one that they can open, one that they can save.
Oh, that's a good idea.
As a host, it's always nice if you can get back to the person and say, hey, I opened that bottle. Thanks so much. And if you loved it, tell them you loved it and why you loved it. I think that's always a nice thing to do. That's
a great way to end, too. And thank you very much. Those are some great tips. And I think people can take away home some good ideas for their holiday entertaining.
Super.
Thanks a lot, Lindsay.
Thank you, Andrew.
And thank you for tolerating that Santa guy who just burst in here and preempted the interview.
Well, somebody should be leaving some wine for Santa.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I think so. Good. Thanks, Lindsay.
You bet.
Lindsay Gavey is with winefox.ca, and you can follow that link to find out a little bit more about what they do and the wine and entertaining pairings and things that are happening there. And that brings us to the end, Fong Tran, of Matter of Taste, of yet another segment. And when we come back, we've got a pretty interesting, I don't know if Greg, our camera guy, can zoom in on this as we're going out of into the commercial. It looks like a science experiment. It looks like something from an 18th, 17th, and 19th century biology lab or something.
German
chemist. Okay, well, we're going to have some pretty funky coffee being made here with the great folks from Matter of Taste. This is the Food Show. And we'll be right back.
Tomorrow on The Jeff Allen Show.
It's
And welcome back once again. This is the third segment of the Food Show. We're moving right along. And just before we get to the sort of the highlight of of course, Santa was the highlight. The second highlight. Sorry, Fong. You have to get bumped down.
Oh, of course. I understand.
I want you to make donations to the food bank of Waterloo Region when you go to the grocery store. Make sure that families who are in need have a wonderful Christmas with some good food. You can also donate to the www.turkeydrive.ca. It's an initiative of the Kitchener-Conestoga Rotary Club. And you can donate online and purchase turkeys and food hampers for families in our region that need food for a happy, healthy holiday season. Every $20 you donate can give a Christmas turkey to a local family in need. And every $80 that you donate, you can feed a family in need with a Christmas food hamper. So this all should be done by December 23rd. So visit turkeydrive.ca and look for a way to donate to this great cause. Now, another great cause is coffee. I wouldn't know what to do if I did not have coffee. I drink coffee black as night, hot as hell, but not sweet as sin. I drink mine just black. And one of the best places to get coffee in this region is the Matter of Taste. And, of course, that's why Fong Tran is with me in the studio here. Now, 3 locations. Tell me where they are for people that don't know.
Well, there's the one very close to the station here downtown Kitchener. It's been there for 7 years now, just about half a block south of the City Hall.
Sipping some right now.
Well, there you are. Our second location opened about 4 years ago now. It's up in the Waterloo Town Square.
Has it been 4 years?
Yes, it's been 4 years.
Well, time flies when you're making coffee, I guess, eh? And drinking it, too.
It's run pretty fast, I can tell you.
But a real funky new location that's more than just sort of a coffee shop is...
recently we opened a roaster, and that's another way for us to move up the the quality control end of it a little bit.
Yeah.
Just it's
So-
right over at Hacienda.
That's off of Union down sort
Union
of
and
almost
Lancaster
right
area.
at the expressway, isn't it? It
Pretty
looks
much,
into that.
yes.
A wonderful facility, no doubt. And I've been to the roastery. Is that what we call it? A
The
roastery?
roaster, yeah.
A roaster, and it is it's amazing. And maybe you can tell us a little bit about that process. But it's just amazing, the smells and aromas. But I just wanted to ask you generally. This is I mean, my interpretation of this region for coffee. And the coffee culture, and I don't mean that by the shop, but in downtown Kitchener alone, there's something like 20 coffee places. This is booming. I mean, this is huge now. I mean, it always has been, but it just seems to me the growth has been phenomenal in this region.
Over the last 2 years or so, there's a whole bunch of coffee shop open up in downtown.
Mhm.
And like you said, there's about 20 or so coffee shop.
It's
Just in
extraordinary.
about I would say about 3 blocks radius.
So it's obviously a healthy interest that the people
It's
have.
a
isn't it?
very
It's-
it's a very good choice for people right
Yeah.
now.
Now, one of the things that is part of the food system, the food culture that we have here locally, is the idea of local and buying from people that you know and buying local products. Now, that isn't possible with coffee because we don't grow coffee here. However, what you're doing is learning about the people from whom you purchase coffee. You're taking the care yourself to do the roasting and for the quality control as you've described it. Tell us a little bit about that process and maybe the philosophy too behind it.
Well, the whole local and buy 100 miles radius and all that stuff is great, but like I said, it doesn't work with coffee. And one of the things about coffee is the story behind them. We don't have those story here.
Mhm.
If you're buying wine, you can go and you can visit the winery.
Right.
But for coffee, most of us don't have that chance. So for us to tell the story from the other end of it, the best way to do it is to actually buy it from the farmer. So that's another way of us working it out is buying direct.
Okay.
Buying direct is also very expensive right now because you have to buy a truckload of things. So we work with other roasters, smaller guys just like us, so that we can team up and buy directly from the farm.
I'm speaking, of course, with Fong Tran, Matter of Taste, the co-proprietor. You can learn more information if you haven't been to these great coffee shops. Matteroftaste.ca will get you some information about where they are and the kind of things they do. Now, tell us about, let's do this now because we've got enough time. This is a pretty interesting contraption.
This is very good for us, especially for the holiday. This is a great
Yeah.
show and tell.
Okay. I mean, it looks to me like an old-style chemistry lab. It looks like maybe some of the devices that some of my friends had in their college dorms back in the 70s, but they weren't making coffee in it.
Back in
No,
the
I'm just
70s, Andrew?
kidding. I'm just kidding. But it does look somewhat chemical analysis, kind of, beaker Erlenmeyer flaskish.
Yeah, it's very
Isn't
much
it?
so. It's a German invention back before electricity. So everything is using Bunsen burners, and it's
Okay.
basically based on the principle of expansion and contraction. So
Wow.
you got the bottom flask is basically heating up the water,
Right.
and once that gets sealed by the top glass, the water expand and it go into the upper chamber. Should we start, or should I just?
Well,
run
yeah,
through
because
the
I wouldn't know
quick
where to.
run process?
I can't direct you through this long because I've never
Gotcha.
seen anything like this.
So-
You take the lead here.
So that's a burner at the bottom. Just what it is doing right now, it's just heating up the water.
Okay.
There's two chamber. The lower one is basically the container. The top half is where you put the coffee in.
Right.
And separate the two of them is a coffee filter right in the middle. It's using
Oh, I
cloth.
see. Okay. So just for people on the radio, there's like a bulb. It's the size of a softball. It's filled with water and it's bubbling away from the Bunsen burner kind of device underneath.
Exactly.
And then there's a container above that looks like a big cup, a big jar, I guess. And
Yeah, and then
that's
there's
where
a
the coffee's going to
exactly, and there's a cloth filter that's being held together by a spring,
be. Okay.
just so that when the water retract back from the upper to the bottom,
Okay.
it's filtered out the coffee.
Wow, I'm going to have to see the next step because I just can't visualize this at all. Am I stupid or something, Craig? I don't know. Can you see this? I can't figure this out at all.
So once the water is boiled, you just basically put the top chamber in.
Mm-hmm.
What happened right now, if you look carefully on the top part, is the water start to expand and move up to the
wow.
upper chamber.
The water's going up.
Yeah, there's a tube that goes right through the lower chamber,
Okay.
and the water just expand because there's nowhere for it to go.
Huh.
So part of what I do right now is trying to find an equilibrium, which means where once all the water from the bottom half go up to the top, we just want to stop the temperature transfer.
Oh, my
So
goodness.
the water in the top part doesn't get any more hot.
I hope you guys can understand this at home if you're not watching. on
It
the internet.
is kind of a tricky thing to do, and like I said, it's a great show and tell, but it's not something I would do in the morning.
Yeah. Right. I couldn't.
I would break this before I have it.
I couldn't get that whole idea of equilibrium in my brain early in the morning. So it's now people listening on the radio, the bulb at the bottom is basically empty, and the jar at the top, all the water has moved up against gravity, essentially. I guess.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
And there's always a little bit of water at the bottom, but that's natural to this process.
All right.
So what I'm doing now is there's 375 grams of waters in here.
Okay.
And that would be 26 grams of coffee.
So
I'm
it's
just
that
adding the
precise.
coffee to the top.
Right. So you just poured ground coffee. It looks like it's a sort of a medium grind. It's not too fine. It's not too coarse.
Yes. It's a kind of a percolator grind.
Okay, percolator grind.
And just quickly stir up the coffee. This is just to help the water and the coffee kind of intermingle with each other.
Okay.
And
so now I use a French press coffee. So that's the actual application of the coffee ground coffee into water versus the drip filter where the water goes through the coffee. So this is now at this point.
Right now it's very similar.
Similar right now, yeah. I understand from you primarily that coffee has to be brewed at a proper temperature. I mean, you can have coffee water that's too hot that will ruin the flavor of the coffee. How are you controlling the temperature here?
And that's where the equilibrium things come into play.
I see.
Once it's water heat up at 100 degree. So once it's all expand up to the top, you have basically stopped the transfer from
and that's okay
heat.
to go.
Exactly.
I see. Okay,
so that's why I kind of make sure that it doesn't go backward, doesn't go forward.
Kids, stay in school and learn science because this is important.
Make sure you don't burn the house down.
Yeah, that's right. It's a beautiful process. I mean, the whole thing is a piece of art as well as a functional food device, I guess.
So we stir it up a couple of times just so to get the gas escaping from the bean.
Okay.
And once we're ready, it takes about 45 seconds for this whole process to start. I'm going to turn off the heat at the bottom here.
All right. So the heat goes up.
Yeah.
We have coffee with a nice crema sort of foam on the top. Looks quite lovely.
And now the bottom chamber is now getting cooled down, so it starts to suck the coffee from the top to the bottom.
Oh my goodness.
And for those at home that can't see this, there's a stream of coffee just going from the top to the bottom.
It's like now it looks like a funnel. The coffee is being funneled, and this is where the filter then comes back into play. Unbelievable.
And if we do everything correctly, which we kind of cheated a little bit here, but if we do everything correctly, you should see a little bit of a dome on the top part after the coffee is fully extracted.
A dome.
A dome of coffee.
A dome of coffee. And the aroma is amazing. Obviously, you can't smell that. Craig, can you even smell it there? The aroma is just amazing. And now the bulb in the bottom is all bubbly.
Yeah, so that means it starts to extract most of the coffee, the air starts to escape.
This really is the most wonderful thing I've ever smelled when it comes to coffee.
It didn't really quite have the dome, but it's kind of there.
Right. Yeah.
So when you see mostly just bubbling happening, that's basically the coffee has only been done. So we're just going to remove the top chamber.
And we're finished.
And we're finished.
Well, that's amazing. And now you've got some kind of a device for that to sit in?
Yeah, this is just a holder.
Oh, what's that? What's that little chain that was there?
The chain here is just basically the part that filtering that holding up the filter.
I see. Okay.
Yeah, the filter is kind of right about here, and you can't really see it right now, but that's where it is.
So now it's done. The coffee's done.
Now it's done.
Yeah. Okay, we're going to drink some coffee on. We're going to do a little sampling here. We've done a sampling with Fong before from Matter of Taste, and now this is a special. Now, what is this device called?
This is a siphon, or sometimes called a vacuum pot.
Vacuum pot or siphon.
Yeah.
And it's how old? 18.
It's 1830.
1830.
Invention by German people.
I'm quite impressed, I must say.
This bottom chamber now, but with this beautiful glass handle, it's actually serving as your serving device.
I see. Okay.
Just pour it out in a cup.
And it's quite a piece of art as well.
And on this particular way of making coffee, it's quite hot, so don't drink it right away, Andrew.
Okay.
Give it about 15 seconds.
Well, do you know what we'll do? Well, why don't we break now, Craig? We'll have a break now, get our last set of commercials done, and listen to our sponsors. And when we come back, this will be cool. And when we come back, we'll do a little sipping sampling. So this is great. Fong Chong has been my guest, and he has just shown us a wonderful device for making some very special coffee. We have to take a break, but when we come back, we'll take a sip, and we'll get some more news from the good folks at Matter of Taste. You're listening to 570 News.
This is The Food Show with Andrew Coppolino. To call Andrew, 519-570-2545. By cell, star 570. Or toll free, 1-800-570-5715. This is The Food Show with Andrew Coppolino on 570 News.
And there we are. Welcome back to The Food Show. Craig, we have a caller apparently. Hello, are you on the line? They're not. They're gone. Okay, the caller probably was scared about this, the coffee here. Intimidating looking machinery we've got. Okay, Fong Tran from Matter of Taste, you've got this coffee poured out for us. Let's do a little tasting of it.
It should be cooled down enough now.
Okay.
We should be able
So
to
one
drink
thing
it.
I noticed is a more fragrant, sweet, not sweet, flowery kind of aroma, a positively flowery one, not too flowery. And
Yeah, you should be able to detect some flour into it because good coffee does have
have
flour.
a flowery taste. Well, it's certainly sweeter
Mhm.
than tasting than normal coffee. Doesn't have any bitterness at all to me anyway. It's a very smooth flavor, very smooth flavor. Is that what it's supposed to be?
Exactly what it's supposed to be. It's this is also what they call a single serve method, which means like we serve on the spot as a single cup kind of thing. And that's kind of a future of the coffee right now. It's going backward just like everything else.
Okay.
Single serve was huge before, now it's kind of going back.
Okay.
It's
I'm getting a little bit of fruitiness to it or something
it's,
too.
this is a Yukashov coffee, so
Okay,
you
this
should
is
get some flowers. You
Ethiopian?
should get some berry products coming out of it.
Yeah, okay. It's funny, people should take more time, obviously. You'll agree with me. Preaching to the choir here. People should take more time to taste coffee, shouldn't they? Because there are flavors there that people don't detect. They take it for granted. They dump in a bunch of cream and sugar.
Precisely.
No offense.
Precisely.
But, I mean, a black coffee drunk, sipped sort of more contemplatively, produces some pretty interesting flavors.
Yeah, no, but it's very much so. Coffee is known to have more flavors than wine does. Typically, a coffee have about 800 and something flavor.
Wow.
Wine have about 840.
Well, tell us a little bit more about the sort of the local aspect of coffee and what Matter of Taste and a lot of other good coffee brewers or coffee shops are trying to create, I guess, throughout the region.
Well, I think what it is right now is people, through the advance of internet and all that stuff, people want to know more about coffee in general. So the story become very important. We kind of want to know where our coffee come from. So the connection to the farmer is a great thing. Fair trade is good, but they don't give that story behind the farmer.
Okay.
So that's where our roaster's strength come into play. That's where we really want to delve into that aspect of things.
Well, let's pick up too then on the hacienda, because there's a great potential there for more than serving coffee, isn't there? You've got a sort of a show space there. You've got the roaster. Tell us a little bit about what happens there, what people might be able to see if they visit you at that end of the city.
Hacienda Roaster is kind of set up as a showcase, more or less. It doesn't set up as a coffee shop. It's set up as a roaster and a training and a showing facility. So if you come in, most of the time we just do an appointment, come in, and it's a great venue for you to rent out little party rooms and things like that. A little bit of education about coffee and tasting and all that.
One of the things that I found really neat was I happened to be there at a meeting with somebody, and the roaster was going, and as it goes through its stages, that aroma changes, doesn't it? As it sort of starts out in the roaster and reaches different heat levels, I guess, and whatever different processing is going on. There's different stages to
exactly. Like as you go through the first stages, it's just heating up, and it starts to steam up the coffee.
Yep.
Then it starts to produce somewhat of a potato smell.
Yeah.
And it's change it a little bit into a candy smell.
Yeah.
And then if you keep going a little further, then you can start detecting like regular coffee smell coming out of it, but it's way later in the stage of it.
That's fascinating. And this is great coffee, and I want to thank you for joining us here today, taking the time off from your day on Sunday to come in with a great device, wonderful Christmas present if people are so coffee inclined, and thank you for joining us.
Yeah, thank you, Andrew.
That's it for the show for this week. Thanks to Lindsay Gavey of winefox.ca and Fong Tran of matteroftaste.ca. You can get a website look at there and see what's going on in the world of coffee from Matter of Taste point of view. Thanks also to our studio guys here, the cameraman Greg Bowen and operator Craig Ainsworth. Visit 570 News for an archive of past shows. Follow The Food Show at twitter.com 570 Food Show, and read my column in the Kitchener Post each Friday. Join us next week for more on The Food Show. We'll be sipping amaretto and giving you a chance to win a chart of beef cuts. Just like you see at the butcher shops. Remember, eat wisely and eat well. Thank you for joining us here on The Food Show, only on 570 News.